Hi, welcome to Senior Moments Successful Aging. I'm Mary Beals-Luedtka, your host. I'm the Area Agency on Aging Director at NACOG, and you can get a hold of us toll free at 877-521-3500. Senior Moment is co-produced by Allie Bateman from Area Agency on Aging, NACOG, and Connie Del Castillo from Yavapai College. And Yavapai College, I forgot to say, is our co-sponsor with the Division of Lifelong Learning. You can get a hold of Connie at 928-717-7755 or Allie at that toll-free number once again at 877-521-3500. So I'd like to welcome our guest, Dennis Brydon. Hi, Dennis.
Hey, Mary, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm absolutely fabulous.
I am super excited about this because I've been looking at all this wonderful artwork that you do. You are a quilling artist.
I am.
So I actually have heard of quilling before, but I'm sure a lot of folks maybe haven't. So what exactly is quilling?
Quilling actually is it's an ancient art. It dates back to about 15th century.
Nice.
Really flourished in the 17th and 18th century, France and Italy. Monks and nuns would tear paper and scroll them and place ornaments on books and different tables. It was just gorgeous work. But really, a precursor was metal filigree. Metal filigree is, you know how they do scroll work. Have you seen a lot of fences out?
Yeah.
If you've gone back east, you'll see a lot of beautiful fence work. Well, all of it started with scroll work. And when people saw that, they said, how can I transfer that skill onto paper? And they would actually tear their own strips, which I can't imagine now because what we have is they're all manufactured and you can actually buy them with these strips right here.
Nice.
Which is fantastic because
Yeah.
otherwise they used to have to tear the strips themselves and make them uniform, and then so you'll see some of the projects that aren't really matched together. But all it really is you take a tool, a quilling tool, and they used to use feather, and that's how they got the quilling. So feather quillings, they'd roll the paper, and it used to be called paper filigree. And then it just took off from there.
So how did you get started in quilling?
Oh, about 3 years ago. It's a really fantastic story. I was down over in our courtyard during one of the summer festivals, and I walked up to this booth and I said, boy, this is really interesting. What is this? And he said, it's quilling. I said, are you the artist? He said, no, my mom and dad do this. And they are aged. They're probably in their 70s. Their work was beautiful. And they used 1/16 of an inch paper, which is, this is 1/8 inch. These are 1/8 inch strips of paper that you form and then shape. And that's where I got started. I was hooked. I went online, I typed into Pinterest, and I looked up quilling, and I said, oh, this is fantastic. I said, but there's no teachers around here. So I got a book, picked up the book, started teaching myself, and then through Ollie, Kathy and Joe Dudek saw me teaching somebody, and they asked me to present through Ollie, and now I've been teaching beginning quilling over at Ollie.
I'll bet you get a big class because I think that a lot of people would want to know how to do this.
My first class was 12, and that is a little, believe it or not, unruly. What you really have to do is I've pared it down to about 6.
Oh, okay.
And that way I can get hands-on. And as we age, sometimes our dexterity is not as good.
Correct.
So I can work with the student and with their specific needs and create different tools or show them different techniques to actually roll the paper in strips. And I can walk it through. I can all see what kind of learners they are because we have kinesthetic learners, we have auditory learners, and we have visual learners. I'm a visual and kinesthetic, so I have to really hear, I have to see it and have to touch it and feel it. So once I do that, I kind of, when I do my instructions, I get tailored to the student's needs. And I can tell right away from teaching, because I've been teaching for about total of 8 years, 3 years of quilling, and I taught stained glass, beginning stained glass lead and foil for 5 years.
So you have an artistic background.
I didn't. I just found my calling. I was looking for something. I was a horrible painter. I couldn't draw a line. I could see a scene, and my house would never look like a house. It was just, that was horrible.
That would be me.
Absolutely me. And my buddy and I, we love stained glass. So we went down to one of the shops, and it was his birthday. So I said, I'm going to buy you a class. And he says, I'm not going this class until you do. So that's where my art started, and stained glass. And then quilling is perfect for it because you can take a lot of stained glass patterns and transfer them over to quilling.
Fascinating. So does it take a lot of patience?
I use a Zen technique of breathing, breathe in, breathe out as I'm quilling. Also in terms of while you're quilling, you should always have a straight back. Your tools, I see a lot of my students are crunched over like this, but if you take a piece, and I won't quill this until later on.
Okay.
But you actually hold it up at eye level.
Okay.
So it keeps your shoulders up, your back out, and it prevents from, I've seen some of my students have sore backs after they're quilling because they're hunched over, and I try to teach them to make sure that they're back and open everything up and breathe.
Kind of like yoga.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of a Zen yoga quilling
I like
style.
that. There you go. So quilling goes all the way back to the 1500s.
15
What countries did you say it came from?
It was originally started in France and then moved into Italy.
Into Italy.
And then it went into England.
Okay.
So in the 17th and 1800s, ladies of leisure needed something to occupy their time, and they saw quilling, and they actually started doing it. So from there, they would take, Princess Elizabeth, who was the seventh child of King George III, who was the American Revolutionary King.
Okay.
His daughter actually created this beautiful fire fencing, because they used to have fencings for the fire, so it wouldn't.
Right.
But I thought to myself, this must have been purely ornamental, because no way this paper can be next to the fire.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it would go up in seconds. But what's nice is that they were able to save that piece, and you can see it at the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. So from the 1800s, she produced it probably in a period of 20 years. What we think.
Fascinating. So you have now I know you belong to the North American Quilling Guild, but also the one of the UK.
Yes, it's called the Quilling Guild. Jane Jenkins, who's a fantastic artist in England, she was instrumental in starting the Quilling Guild in England. But they've been instrumental. She has some beautiful patterns. I don't have them here, but I do have on my wall some of the pieces that I actually made from one of her designs.
And do you show or do contests with your work?
I actually have a contest now that's going on in Grapevine. I think it's Grapevine, Texas. It's at Fort Worth and Dallas. If you just head on up about 45 minutes northeast, that's Grapevine. There is the North American Quilling Guild's conference is in May 11th and 12th. So I mailed out one of my pieces to them to make sure that it's that they see it. I want to see. I want some judging. I mean,
yeah, it'd be nice to have
I've
some
done it
feedback.
long enough, and I want to see some feedback from it.
Well,
see where it is.
I think that'd be fascinating. Well, my feedback on this one is it's stunning.
That is actually one of my second pieces.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I just, the detail just fascinates me. There's just so much to it, and it's hard to believe that it's little teeny pieces of paper. So, you start out on internet, but we're lucky because you can go to Ollie.
Oh,
right
yes.
here at Yavapai College and learn from Dennis.
Yes, yeah, 3 weeks.
Hands-on.
It's a 3 to 4 week class now.
And that's not bad.
I had it for 6 weeks, but it was too much filler. So the first 3 weeks, I went to 3 weeks, and then that wasn't enough because the students asked me about specialty tools, because this requires a fringing tool.
Okay.
It's actually like a guillotine. It's about this one. It takes the paper, it moves the paper through this little loop, and then you press down like a guillotine, and it creates these little cuts of paper. So you roll the paper, and then you fold them out to form a flower.
Wow.
And so these are different techniques. I teach them how to do 3 basic shapes in beginner. From there, you can form anything that's in here. So we'll do an open coil. I then show them how to do a teardrop and shape it. As you can see from here, these are the different shapes that are available.
Nice.
I teach that in an advanced class because some of the students, they can get frustrated if they haven't used
So
the
you
techniques.
do both a beginner and an advanced
And
class?
an intermediate class.
Intermediate? Okay. Nice.
But as you can see, the 3 that you'll learn from there, you can actually transfer on.
Wow. Very unique. Very unique. And so there's all kinds of little tools. So like if I want to go buy a quilling tool, where would I go?
Actually, there's some wonderful resources. If you go onto the internet, one of them in Prescott Valley, it's Hobby Lobby.
Okay.
Hobby Lobby has a nice little section, and Connie is the person that actually runs that little section. So I told her I have a class, and what my needs, said some of the needs that I have, and they have a lot of quilling products there.
Excellent.
Only place here in Prescott Valley.
Okay.
And Prescott. So if you decide though that you would rather have it shipped, you can go online. But some of the best places that I've seen are quillingcreations.com, Lake City, Whimsiquills.com.
Whimsiquills.
Whimsiquills.
That's cute.
And then Quilling Superstore.
Okay.
You can buy your kits on that. Now, when you start quilling, you don't need a lot. It's probably one of the least expensive hobbies that you can even start off with. For $20, you can get started. You can copy, you can go to the library and copy patterns, but you can't sell them because they are copyrighted, a lot of those patterns. But make them for your own personal use for showing. But for instance, this is what the paper comes in, something like this. And there's 1/8 inch strip, 1/16 inch strip, they're 5/8, 3/8, half inch, an inch, which to me, that would be one
That's
heck
pretty
of
wide.
a billing,
Yeah.
a quilling project. Then all you need is tweezers, right there. This pointy tool is really great because it removes glue, excess glue off of your paper. Too much glue on your paper, bad thing. What happens is it transfers on to the quills, and you'll see when I give a demonstration, as when you open up the quill, the little papers, if you put too much glue on, they'll actually travel down the paper and stick to each other, so you won't have a quill that's open, because you want an open quill that's glued so you can shape. And then the next tool is, this is a specialty tool. It's has a roller on it. It really helps for your fingers, because otherwise you have to turn it by hand, and they do sell those.
Okay, so this rotates. Oh, okay.
It's a rotate. There's a slot at the end. So what you'll do is you'll take the paper and slip it right down into the slot.
I see it now.
If we've done, anybody of us that have done any type of sewing, it's kind of the same principle. When you first start, you think, oh,
but it's kind of open on the end.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a slot.
And that slot there can close down on you because you apply pressure.
Okay.
And when you apply pressure, it's just really small metal. It closes up, so you have to take a pin and open up every once in a while. Not much, but these are the three. This is all you need. That is all you'll need right there for quilling. And then a pattern. And this pattern here, believe it or not, is, I saw a card that had a heart shape that I love the hearts on it. And then it had it's coloring from a coloring book. So you could color it in there. And obviously I can't take the pattern from the color, because the colors, they're so thin or they're long, it just doesn't work. So, but I love the heart shape. So I just took the heart shape, copied that, and used it against a cork board, and then put some paper on top of that, put the pattern on top of that, and then some cellophane on that so it protects the pattern. And that's what you use. Just use the pattern from there. So I honestly, $20. And you don't need, I have tools. I'm a tool guy, so I have tools, and we don't even have enough time in this interview to even show you all the tools that I have. But there's specialty techniques for this little little guy right here for the flower. That's a special tool. I also have, if I want a specific round piece, they have these little forms that you use. There's a wonderful artist out there that does 3-dimensional pieces, but she does them so small that she created this little 3D bakery shop. Aww. She made cupcakes and candy and cakes and displayed, and she made the display out of paper. It was beautiful. You can find that online. You can actually type in 3-dimensional quilling, and you'll find stuff like that. Just amazing.
How fun.
I made a piano. He took a piano, shrunk it down, used that as a design, and made a 3D Steinway. It was gorgeous. Wow. And they did castles. I mean, what's out there is just amazing. There's incredible artists.
So you can make your own patterns, basically.
Yeah, anything I see. I was looking at your blouse.
Yeah, it's got all kinds of butterflies and pretty stuff.
This is a perfect pattern for
there you
quilling.
go.
So, and that's another thing you start seeing. You start seeing patterns in things
that you want to make.
It takes you into the moment, the present, and exactly where you are. And that's what we need as seniors.
So then you just decided which kind of flowers you wanted to. You just made that up as you went?
I just started going along and coming down. I started different techniques. Actually, you have to work yourself up, because it actually builds. It's like building a house. You need a great foundation, because if you start on the outside and work yourself in, you're going to have these tiny little quills, and it just doesn't look aesthetically pleasing.
Gotcha.
So you always want to start out and just form. You know, and
That's so stunning.
it's a very pretty piece.
Yes,
I really
it
like
is.
that.
Well,
and then there's a local Brad, his name. He frames everything for me. I have specific colors that I want, so I pick out the colors, and he works with me.
I was going to say the frame was well done.
Yeah, he does a really good job on framing.
Because it really, that makes a big difference too when you're displaying something,
Absolutely.
because it really pops with the colors. I love that. So when you sent your work for the contest, did you have to frame it? Or
yeah, there's actually 5 categories.
Okay.
You can do cards like this.
Okay.
You can do 3-dimensionals, and there's levels. There's beginning, intermediate, and advanced. Framework. What I entered was framing.
Okay.
So I entered a piece like this, and it's a tree actually. And I did this different technique with you take a long brass tube, and you wrap paper around it in one direction, glue it, and wrap paper in the different direction, so it's solid, and you can make tree branches. So I used that as tree branches.
Oh my gosh.
And then quilled flowers to them.
Another tool.
Yeah.
So you're going to show me how to do a little piece, right?
I am actually going to do. This is your gift to you. My gift to you.
Okay. Gosh, it's so pretty.
I'll give you a quick little demonstration, because what I'm going to do, if I may, just bring this out. And usually what I will have is I'll have the actual pattern on a cork board, like I was talking about. Then I can lay it on, because once you start gluing things down, I made the mistake when I first started as a beginner. I forgot to put plastic on top, like any type of cellophane or anything that's going to protect the actual pattern. And I was gluing along, and I pulled it up, and the pattern was stuck to the actual whole project. So I had to cut it around. And it took forever to actually remove the paper off things. So I learned by the hard way. So don't do it.
We always learn from our mistakes, though, because you never forget that.
No, I will never forget it. And I teach my students the same thing, because I see them doing that. But this is the quilling tool that we're going to use. And what I'm going to do is, if you can see this right here.
Oh, okay.
This is called a marquee, and it's a leaf. It actually forms into a leaf, but the basic pattern is called a marquee. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to form a circle, and then I'm going to glue it, and then I'm going to shape it into a eye. You'll hear it marquee or eye, especially when you're going through instructions. And then I'm going to shape it in a different direction so it forms the leaf. And I'm going to glue it actually onto this pattern right there to finish off the pattern.
Okay.
Okay?
Here,
So
I'll
keep
put this
that
back
there.
up here so we can watch it.
So as I say, I need my glasses. I can see everything right in here. It's perfect, but
So,
I
all
cannot
right.
see this.
I got the same thing going on here.
I'm going to take the little slot, line it up. I always keep it at eye level. This is great lighting. I should have this in my studio. Then I'm going to just slightly turn. So what you're going to see how it's wrapped around that now? It's locked in. So what you want to do is, this is going to be my pressure point. You always want to apply pressure to the back of the paper.
Okay.
That allows the coil to either open or a tight coil. And you'll see what I mean, because I'm going to actually open it up. You'll probably see it. It's going to be really, really quick. They have a special tool for beginners that I use. It's called a circle sizer. So what they do is, a strip of paper will probably be, I also give them instructions on how long should my strip fit to get into 6. I think that's 6, yeah. Then that's the 6th circle, would be about a 4-inch strip of paper.
Okay.
This particular piece is actually too long. I'm glad I even said that to you. So it needs to be 8 inches. So I'm going to measure this. I also work in centimeters now, because it's a lot easier in my projects to divide and multiply by whole numbers from the centimeters than it is to take when I was in, I did that in 6th grade. How do I do 1/4 by 1/8 and divide this? I said, no, I've got to go to millimeters. So I use that. But for my students, I teach them, quarter inches, half inch, because they're familiar with that. They're not familiar with the centimeter system or millimeters.
Yeah, I had to learn that in nursing school.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's easier.
Yeah, it is easier once you start using it. At first I thought, oh my gosh. So we're going to start over. I'm rolling. I'm going to roll this very, very quickly. So if you can see how it's rolling. And the guide that I'm using is this edge right here and that edge right there actually has to stay on the roll.
Gotcha.
So I can follow and make sure. Because if you don't, it gets out of whack, and you'll have a, oh gosh,
You'll have a mess.
A really mess. Also, students, what they want to do is pull. If you pull, I don't know if you've ever pulled anything with paper. All of a sudden you pull out, and then you have everything that you've rolled on one long piece. So what I teach them to do is actually just slip it right off, just like that.
Okay.
Now this is called a tight coil right here. Hopefully it doesn't come undone. Called
Gotcha.
a tight coil, just like that. But I'm going to open it up. Now, I teach my students to actually drop it into the circle sizer so it gets really formed and that. But with my experience, I can just do it by hand to open. These are like vices. So you see how it opened up?
Yeah.
So it opened up to a
Kind of
coil
went boing.
formed like this. Just like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're going to do now is take a little bit of glue, and less is perfect.
Okay.
Okay. Take my glue. I always put my glue outside. See that little tiny dot? Right there. Drop it right on. That is too much glue, believe it or not. I'm going to show you that right there. See that?
Mm-hmm.
That's way too much glue. So I'm going to take my little tool remover right there, and don't do this at home, but I do that all the time.
Yeah.
So close this down. Take my tool to hold it down. And my beginning students sometimes, this edge right here, they let it lap over, and I try to teach them not to do that. So I place it down there, hold it. It takes 5 seconds for this glue. It's a special glue, paper glue. It's made by Eleen's. And this is called Easy Flow because it works out. A lot of people, a technique, they'll just put it onto a piece of plastic, take this little tool, dip it in, and then drop it on.
that way?
Yeah. So what I'm going to do now is form an eye. So I'm going to press down slowly, and as you can see, the coils are starting to go in each direction. All right, so that's my basic eye right there. I'll show you what that looks like.
Looks like an eyeball.
Exactly. Looks just like an eye.
It does.
Now I'm going to shape it. So when you take it, this is your vice grip right here. Very little pressure for paper. So I'm pressing down and then shaping. Down, shape, down, and shape. We're going to turn it to the opposite side. And sometimes the coils like to move over. So I'm going to move this over just a tiny bit because it did. So now I've got that. See how these shapes are nice and pretty coming over there? Then I can push down just like that. Now we've got the shape, basic shape for the eye. Now I'm going to form it into a leaf from here. So down. See how I'm shaping that bottom?
Yeah.
Turning it over, shaping it down also. So there we have is a nice leaf. Just like that.
Beautiful.
Now, also what I do is I teach the beginners wherever they glued point, that's where you're actually going to hide it. So I'm going to finish this card off for you, so bear with me. I'll place a little glue right on here, just on the tip, just like that. Okay. And I have a table that's a drafting
Up
table.
higher.
So it's up higher
That's
right up
good.
here, so that I'm not always hunched over.
To keep that zen going.
And yes, exactly. And I didn't, but as I was teaching, I'm breathing in and breathing out. So I try to teach my students that. And a lot of students, they say, Dennis, I'm holding my breath. I said,
That would be me.
Don't do that. They're going to pass out on me. So I'm
Don't
gonna
forget to breathe,
place
kids.
it down just like this.
Oh.
Take my alignment tool, line that up right there, and I'm gonna remove some of the glue. Sometimes if you put too much glue in there, see my tool right there?
Yeah, that would. Yeah, I do that when I paint.
Yeah, and you shouldn't. I mean, I
I
really
know.
should put it on paper, but don't do what I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do what I say.
And there we are.
Oh, it's
And
just
that is for
beautiful. See that little leaf that he just made. Isn't that
And of course, I
cute?
created this pattern at home.
I love it. I love it.
And the paper below is an origami paper. It's for a cup, so it looks great as a pot.
Yes, absolutely. Very nice.
And there we have quilling.
And there we have quilling. And actually, I guess we could call it an ancient art, can't we?
Oh, absolutely an ancient
know,
art. The
'cause-
21st century, though, it's taking off. We've got some artists out there. One of the artists, her name is Julia. I'm terrible at this, and I think I told you.
That's okay. It's why we. It's
Yes.
why we have notes.
Brodskaya?
Oh, the one. Yes, I think it's Julia Brodskaya.
Yes. And Julia is just doing crazy things with quilling. She's taking her graphic design background and also using quilling and then linear. It's a new form that the North American Quilling Girl has actually acknowledged, and it's called linear paper art. She'll take that linear paper art and form just beautiful shapes of people and then quilling around it. Go online, you can see some of her cards. It's just gorgeous.
Yeah, the one that you showed me, you could see almost a peasant's face in it.
Absolutely.
You know, which made me think that maybe, you know, she's Czechoslovakian or, yeah, and you could see that face in there, plus with all the flowers around. It's beautiful.
Oh,
Absolutely.
she's just incredible artist. And some major companies actually have used her for their conventions. Neiman Marcus, oh gosh, if you go online, they have a list, and if you go to her website, you can see all the incredible pieces that she's produced.
So does Yavapai College put some of your pieces on their website for your classes?
They do not put it on the website, but I gave a demonstration at the library, and they had it there.
Awesome.
Funny thing though is that the advertisement. I was looking at the advertisement and I said, "Oh, that's Chinese quilling. That is nothing like traditional quilling." I thought so. I had to tell my students, now you're not here to learn Chinese quilling, because that's not what I teach. It's a brand new style. It's a beautiful style. It's absolutely an incredible style. So if you type in Chinese quilling, there's an artist in China that actually has an institute that he's bringing up a lot of quilling artists in China.
So it's a different
style.
Totally different
and they
style.
even say that it's more of their Zen philosophy, not our Western philosophy, but their Eastern philosophy of how they see strokes and how they see patterns. And you'll see it in, like, the fish. They do a koi that is gorgeous. It's shaped just beautifully flowing. You'll see the gills even that they put in, the scales. It's just really gorgeous artwork.
But it sounds like you put a lot of that in your work too, though. The Zen, and like you're saying, I'm seeing a pattern in your shirt. I'm seeing a pattern here. That's what I want to quill.
Yeah.
And you know, there's something to be said for being in the moment.
Yeah, mindfulness.
Yeah.
And this is a great mindful art.
You know, because you have to be mindful if you're going to do quilling.
Yes.
I would think. I would think. So, if you want to learn more about quilling, you need to check out when Dennis has his classes at the Ollie Lifelong Learning Center. So, Dennis Brydon, thank you so much. I really enjoyed meeting you, and maybe we can have you back again for some more quilling. I want to know what happens at the contest, in Texas. And what a beautiful art form. What absolutely beautiful art form. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Mary Beals-Luedtka. This is Senior Moment Successful Aging. Until next time.